Well, we've been taking a journey talking about relationships. And if we look back over the journey, you remember I started out by talking about the relationship you have with yourself. You remember the reason I started there is because I said, you know yourself better than anyone else. Therefore, if you don't like you and you know yourself better than I do, then I'm inclined to take your word for it. I mean, you spend more time with you than I do. You know yourself more intimately than I do. And if you have decided with more data than I have that you're not a quality human being, who am I to second guess the person that has more information? Therefore, I want you to get along with you. I want you to be your best friend. I want you to accept yourself, flaws, fallacies, and all. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to be the perfect partner. And by the way, if you're looking for a partner, don't spend your life looking for the perfect partner. If you can make a list of all the things you want, all the things you need in a partner, and you can find a candidate that's 80%, you better bag them, tag them, and take them home, because you're going to find that you can grow the other 10 or 20% in a lot less time than you would spend looking for someone that had that other 10 or 20%. You're never going to find 100%, but if you find someone that has the core characteristics that you believe are non-negotiable, other things you can learn to live with or you can grow. So I hope I've thought-provoked you enough in looking at your partner and telling you that one of the things you have to do is accept your partner, that you've stopped obsessing over small things, you've stopped obsessing over idiosyncrasies, and ask yourself, does this person have the core characteristics and values of who I want to spend my life with? And if they do, then their nuances, their idiosyncrasies, the differences that define them, you can live with those things. You need to lighten up. I told you there was a formula for success in a relationship, and I'm going to give you a caution here, and I really hope you hear me. If you really have just kind of half listened to the other 7 episodes in this series, if you really haven't done the soul searching, if you haven't filled out the different surveys, questionnaires, and tests that I've put on the website, you're not ready for this formula for success in a relationship. There's an old saying that would fit nicely on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker. A poor workman quarrels with his tools. What does that mean? A poor workman quarrels with his tools. If somebody doesn't really know how to use a tool, they don't really know how to use information, they're going to find fault with the tool or the information. But if they've prepared themselves for the next level, if they've prepared themselves to use the tool or information, then they'll make use of it. But if I hand you a shovel and you dig with the wrong end, I can't help you. So I hope you've done what you need to do. And if you haven't, it's not too late. You can go back and ask yourself some of the hard questions. For example, one of the things I've said that you have to do is a relationship autopsy. Go back and figure out if your relationship's in the ditch, what have you done to put it there? If you are in a second relationship, a second marriage, or you're getting ready to get into one, you're really not ready if you haven't gone back and figured out what you did to run the first one off in the ditch. So I'm just saying, I hope you've asked yourself the hard questions. I hope you've taken your victim hat off and said, I own my relationship. Okay, I can't do any more than just tell you that. I hope you have, and if you haven't, I hope you do. Here's the formula. Now, I'm going to say this to you several times, so you don't need to pull your car over and write this down. The quality of a relationship is a function of the extent to which it is based on a solid underlying friendship and meets the needs of the two people involved. Now, let me say that again. The quality of a relationship is a function of, meaning it depends on, a solid underlying friendship, and to the extent it meets the needs of the two people involved. Two people involved. Not just you, the two people involved. So let's break that down. It's a function of a solid underlying friendship. Now, in episode 7, we talked about how you have to have a good friendship to have a good relationship. And I talked about the fact that you'll invest more with people that you just socially know than you will sometimes invest with people with whom you have an intimate relationship. Remember, I said you'll go to work and say, hey, how's it going? Did you see that game last night? Blah, 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 blah. but you'll pass your partner in the hall at home and just go, hey. If that, there's something wrong with that. You want to invest the most where you have the most invested. You've already invested a lot in the people that you're living with, have children with, have years of shared history with. That's where you want to invest your energy, your effort. Now, let's talk about the solid underlying friendship. I don't know if you fell in love immediately with your significant other or if you had a friendship first and it grew into something romantic. It doesn't really matter. But ask yourself if you've stopped being good friends. Ask yourself if you have allowed your relationship to become problem-driven, where all you do is you solve problems. You solve kid problems, money problems, in-law problems, activities of daily living problems, house problems, whatever. And if that's true, if that is your relationship or it defines too much of your relationship, then let's make a plan to start being friends again. And how do you do that? Well, I've said you own your relationship, so you can define it as a solid underlying friendship again. What do you do with your friends? Think about the 2 or 3 best friends that you have in your life, not your significant other. The 2 or 3 best friends that you have in your life. What do y'all do? What do you talk about? What do you focus on? What do you laugh about? What do you share about? And find a corollary to that with your significant other. You don't always talk about work. If it's a coworker, when you go to lunch, what do you talk about? Do you talk about something that you read in the paper? You talk about a TV show last night? Do you talk about fun things that aren't task-oriented? If all you ever deal with in your relationship are problems, then you have a problem relationship. Think about that. If all you ever deal with in your relationship are problems, then you have a problem relationship. And if the person that you are always solving problems with is your significant other, you're not going to want to see them come through the door because you know here comes trouble. Here comes problems. You associate them with problems. You don't associate them with laughter. You don't associate them with joy. It's like the Grim Reaper coming through the door. You know this is just somebody that I associate with problems. You know, there's a statistic, a sad and tragic statistic, that partners who go through major trauma, one of them has a serious illness, or a child is lost to an illness or an accident, some tragedy like that, they typically have a very difficult time adjusting, and they have an uncommonly high divorce rate. Now, why do they have an uncommonly high divorce rate? Because they went through this problem together, and now they are a trigger for each other. Every time you look at your wife, you think about those hours at the hospital, walking in the waiting room, sitting in there, holding hands, and you think, well, that would bond you together. It may have at the time, but now you associate that person with all of that pain, all of that agony, all of that misery. Now, can you work through that? Of course you can, but most people don't. We associate people with everything that's in their aura, everything that surrounds them. So ask yourself, what is your partner most likely to associate you with? And the answer is, what are the most common topics and issues that the two of you talk about? Do the two of you talk about funny movies? Do the two of you talk about planning interesting adventures? Do you talk about accomplishments and achievements that you've each been able to create in your lives? Or do you talk about there's not enough money, your kid's on drugs, your mother keeps interfering? If it's problem, then they're going to associate you with a problem. What I want you to do is subtly, a step at a time, get your partner to start associating you with joy. Start associating you with fun, with safety, with peace, with tranquility, with excitement. Think of all the positive words, adjectives that you can imagine, and say, that's what I want to be associated with. It's the old joke, I'm the government and I'm here to help you. How often do you get a letter from the government and they're there to help you? How about never? They're there to regulate you, penalize you, charge you. They don't ever write you just to let you know how well you're doing as a citizen. When was the last time you got a letter from the government said, "Hey, I just wanted to drop you a line and let you know how well we think you're doing as a citizen." I don't remember getting a letter like that, so that's why there's the old joke, "Hey, I'm your government and I'm here to help you." Yeah, no. No, you're not. Trust me, I'm your government. No, nobody trusts the IRS. Are you kidding me? They associate them with problems and payments and taking money, et cetera, et cetera. What are you associated with? And the way to do that is to sit down and say, what are the 20 most common topics we've talked about in the last month? And how many of those would you put in the fun column, the positive column, the health engendering column, the building self-esteem column, the peace and tranquility column, the hey, let me take that off of you column? If you wonder why your partner seems distant from you, it may well be because they're distant from you. It's not a perception, it's a reality. They do distance themselves from you because they associate you with pain. They associate you with problems. They associate you with negativity. You can change that by becoming a good friend. What do good friends do? I keep saying this. Good friends laugh. Good friends talk. Good friends share about fun things in their life. Good friends talk about movies, TV shows, trips they took, something funny that happened. That's what they talk about. That's what they laugh about. They stick up for each other. They have each other's back. They compliment each other. They find something positive to comment on with each other. They tease each other. They joke around. When was the last time you joked around with your partner? Well, if the answer is, I can't remember, that's a problem.